Welcome to the Sacred Emergence Podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Wong, and I'm so thrilled that you're here. This is a place where you'll be guided to living your most aligned life so that your truest, most radiant self can emerge. We'll be jamming on topics ranging from spirituality, entrepreneurship, to wellness and lifestyle design, and everything in between that can support you to grow, evolve, and shine, all the while not taking ourselves too seriously. So if you're ready to step into your leadership, break through limiting beliefs, own all of who you are, and expand in abundance, grab yourself your faith cup of tea and let's dive in. Hey, welcome to the Sacred Emergence Podcast. It's Michelle Wong, and I have a solo episode for you today in the form of a Facebook Live replay. So this Facebook Live I did last week around getting unstuck, and I felt like it was really powerful, so I wanted to share it in this podcast. And before I share the episode, I thought I'd give you a little bit update about my travels. So I'm recording this this Sunday, so you're going to catch this episode if you catch it pretty close to the launch of the episodes. You're going to get it the day after, on Monday. And so basically a week from now, I will be on my way to Mexico. And this end of this week, I'm going to be officially moving. Like the movers are coming. My place is pretty much, I would say like 85 to 90% packed up. There's a few other things that I need, but Mexico is a go. And Bali is still happening. I'm just waiting for my visa to get processed, but everything is now open and good in terms of the visa for Bali. And it's just a matter of a few days before I get my Bali visa. So I'm really excited for this. And some people have been asking me, like, what are my intentions when I get there? Like, what are my plans? And I honestly don't have like a huge like to-do list. My plan is to really be in more flow, to be in more goddessy vibes, and to continue to grow my business in the way that feels really good for me. And I feel a shift that's happening. I feel a shift that's happening in my business and how I show up and what I share and how I navigate with human design and beyond. So I wanted to give a heads up with that, informing you all. And so to be continued, definitely follow me on Instagram and Facebook. On Instagram, I am mostly active in my stories. Facebook, I share, posts on Facebook. I'll do lives. I will, whatever's happening, downloads that I get, deeper insights and wisdom, I share that in Facebook. So anyway, this is a previous replay of getting unstuck through a Facebook Live I did. I have a rating on iTunes, and I will still be growing my business while I'm traveling. So hit me up if you want to learn more about Human Design Expanded. That's by far, I think, the best way to really get rooted in human design and starting to integrate. I'm adjusting and shifting my readings in a way to make it even more tangible and practical so that you can integrate it into your life even more. And HD Expanded really offers that. And then my membership, The Unfolding, is such a beautiful container. The Voxer group is so supportive, and the women in there are just lovely. So if that is something that is of interest to you, please reach out. All the links will also be in the show notes. MichelleWong.xo through Instagram and Michelle Wong Catalyst on Facebook. Have a beautiful day. Hey friends, it's Michelle Wong coming to you live on my personal page. How are you all? What time is it? It's 7:45 p.m. my time. And I thought I'd come on. It's been a bit since I've done a live here, and so much has been happening. I thought I'd come on and share what's been happening. And also I felt inspired to share a few stories around what I do when I feel like I'm stuck. Because sometimes when I have client calls, a lot of times I feel stuck or I'm stuck. That tends to be something that pops up. And so I wanted to share my experience around what happens when we get stuck and how to move out of it. So This is an impromptu live, so I don't know, but if you are catching the after party, hashtag after party, comment as if you're watching live. And if you're tuning in live, please say hello, tell me where you're from. Okay, so I've been getting a lot of DMs asking me like, where am I going? What are my plans? What's happening? What they miss? Or people think I'm on vacation or I'm going on vacation. So I thought I would add some insights to this. I'm actually not going on vacation. I'm actually living abroad for a little while. And the first stop is Mexico. I'm going to Playa del Carmen, which I'm super excited for. And then I already have a visa application in for Bali. It's a little bit more complicated. So when that opens up, I will be going to Bali as well. So I'm super excited. I can spend up to 6 months in Mexico at a time. And then with Bali, my visa allows me to stay in Bali for up to 6 months. So the plan is to do that. But who knows, right? Who knows? I might, shorten my time in Mexico, maybe just do 3 months and then, okay, let's head over to Bali. I think with Bali, I'll probably stay for 6 months because it took a while to get over there. I'm not gonna lie. And so I'm super excited, and my business is 100% digital. So I will be continuing to grow my business online and connecting with beautiful women across the globe. And so I am super stoked for this. Anyway, so I wanted to talk about getting unstuck because I feel like a lot of times we feel that way. I know I felt that way in terms of getting stuck or feeling that I'm stuck and I don't know what to do and I just feel stuck, like I feel stuck, right? And I wanted to offer some insights around this and share things that have happened to, like things that I do to get unstuck. And so whenever I hear someone say, I am stuck, I feel stuck, I don't know what to do, I'm like torn. I know, like, just from personal experience, a lot of times it's because we're operating in our head, right? We're in our head. We're trying, like getting, like when we're stuck, it's not like we're physically stuck, right? It's a story that plays out in our head because we cannot see a solution, or it's like the mind is like, well, what do I do next, right? And it's really easy to just sit there and be like, well, crap, now I feel stuck and I don't know what to do. And so tying this back to travels, I was feeling stuck. When was I feeling stuck? Maybe earlier this year, mid-January this year. I was like, oh my gosh, like going to Thailand is way too complicated. And so I looked at Bali, and Bali said, well, maybe Bali is open. And they kept, because they were open end of December or in December timeframe, through a special visa and or through a few visas, but not the tourist visa. And I was just like, this is way too complicated. I want to travel, but I feel stuck. Like, I think I'm just going to wait it out. And I was like, well, maybe I'll just look at another year's lease in Seattle. And it was really easy for me to be in that space of like, well, that's my next option, even though it wasn't like the one I considered really. And so what I did to move out of that was to be in action. So I took action to get out of my stuckness, and mentally it felt I was stuck because I wanted to travel, but I felt like I couldn't. It was too complicated. It was going to be a headache. And I ended up just being like, okay, whatever. But then I hired my friend Vivi Doms, Vivi Wilds, and she's all about the adventure fairy. She is the adventure fairy. She's all about adventures and really like growth and evolution through adventures and travel, even if you can't travel. She's written a few books. And so I hired her because she was offering this monthly, it's called Adventurize, where she'll help plan for your activities, unlimited. That's the subscription that I bought. But I worked with her mid-December, and her helping me, organize if I wanted to go to Thailand or not. And it's just so much nicer to have somebody who's, you can ask all these questions and have at your side. So I hired Vivi to pretty much do what I did when I hired her for December. I'm like, hey, help me organize Thailand. So now, right after I hired her, because she's, we're in the same mastermind together, so she knew my story around wanting to travel, but also like Thailand was a butt. Bali is like, they keep pushing back their border entries. So they kept saying, okay, like we're not opening our doors for visa application. We'll give you an update in 2 weeks to see if we change our mind. And it kept getting pushed back every 2 weeks. And I was getting so frustrated because I was waiting for the borders to open. And so I hired Vivi, and the first thing she said to me was, I know you want to go to Bali, but can you go somewhere else that is open and then spend time there? And when Bali does open up, you can just fly over. Because what ended up happening was in early February, I thought it was, the rumors were, the verdict was still out, but rumors had it that Bali was opening its doors for visas. So I was like, so I applied, and it wasn't cheap. And then it was like, oh, actually, we're not open. So anyways, it's been like this yo-yo, like, are we going? Are we not? Are we going? Are we not? So anyway, so Vivi had that great idea, and she's like, well, why don't you look at Thailand? Maybe like, just do the 2-week quarantine or whatever and just apply. And I was like, if I'm going to do all this work to get into Thailand and I can stay there for 9 months, I would probably just stay there for 9 months. So we explored other places, and she brought up the idea of, well, why don't you go to Mexico? And initially I was like, I don't know. I've never been to Mexico. I definitely don't blend in Mexico. And I was like, I don't know. I've never really spent time there. I don't really know. And at the same time, like I know of people who have gone to Mexico during this whole pandemic. And so by the time like I hired her the second time, I just felt like I'm ready to change things up. And I was feeling so stuck that I was like, I'm ready. I'm like, let's explore what it will take to go to Mexico. And I felt like Mexico was close enough that I can fly back to the US, and if things, didn't work out, or it was just close enough and easy enough that there was just less barriers for me to jump through to get in, versus going to Thailand. It was just going to be so complicated. And with Mexico, it was like a short, easy hop, skip, less than 7-hour flight. It was like 6 hours and 50 minutes, direct flight. My cell phone will still work there, right? I have T-Mobile. And it just felt really like this might be a lot easier, and I could be up there, and I could be down there in Mexico for up to 6 months. And I don't need a quarantine. And the flights were super cheap. And I was like, okay, let's explore Mexico. So the moment I did that, things started moving, right? The moment I made that decision and looked at the different places, exploring and researching like where I want to be. And if you catched my my past lives, I did Big Dreams in HD, where I shared the whole story and aligning with my human design and all that. I shared the whole journey and the process of my decision of where I was going to go. And if you all are tuning in live, please say hello. And then in that video, I shared that I was going to go to Curacao, which is in the Caribbean, but it actually got really not complicated, but I felt like there was more restrictions in going, and it was more costly, and I just felt like Mexico feels like it's more in alignment with what I'm looking for. Hello, Christine. Hello, beauty. Thank you for saying hi. How are you? And so I'm sharing my story of traveling right now and getting unstuck. Because I just hear a lot of people saying I feel stuck, and I wanted to share my experience around getting unstuck. And so the moment I decided I was going to go to Mexico, I made that decision. When did I make that decision? I made that decision, and so good. So happy to hear the story. Oh, amazing. I think it was early March. It was early March, or sometime in early March, last month. It's crazy. Honestly, it's been over a month already. Yeah, stuck is so common. Exactly. And it's like I shared earlier that it's more of a mindset, like it's something that our brain is telling us, because we're not physically stuck, right? And so I hired Vivi, and then we decided, okay, let's go to Mexico. Well, I decided. She like helped me get there. And I was, hi friend, how are you? And so what ended up happening was I said, let's do it. I started researching, and it got real. It got really real. And I told my landlady, hey, I'm actually moving out. This is where I'm going. I called up my friends, like, this is happening. I chose the date. So things started moving along. I told my friends where they're helping me with my storage and helping me store my stuff. And things started moving along. I found a place to stay for a month. It just got like easy. And then like I was in one of the Facebook groups. Like this is like what happens, right? When we start being in action. So this is the thing of getting unstuck, is being in action and making decisions and like committing. And so I was on one of the Facebook groups, and I'm going to Playa del Carmen, and I noticed that one of my friends was in the Facebook group, and this is around living in Playa del Carmen. So I messaged her. I'm like, are you there right now? She's like, yeah. I'm like, oh my God. And one of my like hesitations of going to Mexico was like, well, I don't know anybody there, and I'm going to feel like, I don't know, like, I just don't know anybody there. And it's like, when we start making one decision to move us forward, things start to fall into place. And so funnily enough, like now that, actually, I think it was like 3 weeks after I made my decision around Mexico. I know, right, Christine? So amazing. When I made my decision to go to Mexico, and like I already bought my plane ticket, I'm now like, I'm excited now, right? Like any fears I had around going to a country that I like nobody and I don't really blend in, like all of that melted away. And funnily enough, once that happened, I'm getting answers around Bali. Like, I got an update from the company where I applied for my visa, and they're like, well, there's actually, you can come in, but you have to apply for this permit. It's another how many hundreds of dollars. And I'm like, I'm going to go to Mexico first, and I'm going to have a great time there. And when I feel like, okay, I am complete, then I'm going to look at Bali, right? Because I'm definitely going to go to Bali. It's just a matter of when. And so like, this is what happens when we're in action, it's like the being stuck is really like, it's a story that we tell ourselves because we're just not sure what to do. And then our head gets in the way, we get in the way, versus like what I really wanted to do was to start traveling. I had my mind hooked on Bali because that was already the vision that I had after I made the decision. Yeah, let's just go to Bali. But because the borders were kind of, there was still a lot of regulations and I wasn't getting the answers I wanted, I could look at somewhere else. And that's what I did. And I think it was like, I felt like frustrated enough that I was like, let's just do something to get me out of this. So that was one example of like how to get unstuck. It doesn't have to be like move across the world, right? It's like whenever we're stuck, we feel stuck, take action, do something that will get you a little bit closer to where you want to be. And so I have another example. So this is a few years ago, and this is all around getting unstuck. Another example of being in action. So years ago, I literally felt stuck. I was in corporate, and I wanted to go back and study Chinese medicine and naturopathic medicine. But before I could do that, I had to do my prereqs and go back to like night school, all of that. And I also didn't have my green card yet because I'm a Canadian citizen. I live in the US. I didn't have my green card yet, and my company was sponsoring my green card, and I was already there for I was already at my corporate job for like 5 years, and I was like, I couldn't really move around the company. I had to my green card was tied to my role at the company, so I couldn't even switch roles in my company, and so I literally felt stuck. And at that time, I was actually seeing a therapist, and I was like, I'm so frustrated right now, help me. And she's like, okay, this is where you want to go. Your dream, right? Your dream is you're wanting to go back to school and study, but you still, before you even get there, you need to get your prereqs, right? And like, there was a lot of courses that I had to take. I think there were at least like 5 to 6 courses that I had to take, all science. And she's like, why don't you take it now? Like, why don't you just take it now? And that time, like, I wasn't a resident yet. So for me to go back to school was going to cost me like non-resident tuition. And I think it was, I mean, now looking back, it wasn't that expensive, right? But compared like paying $500 versus like $2,000, I was like, oh, and I got to take like 6-7 courses. I was like, that's really going to add up versus if I just got my green card, I would be able to like only pay $500, right? And so I felt like, oh, I don't know, like it's just, and she said, just take one. Just take one so that, yeah, you're paying maybe like $1,500 instead of 500, but that's going to get you one step closer, and then you're going to feel like you're working towards your dreams. And then when she said that, I was like, yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. So I did. I was looking at the timing wise, it worked out. I was looking at one class, and it was like chemistry, and I already taken chemistry in college, but I had to retake it again because it was a while. And so I kid you not, I paid for my tuition. And like school was going to start a week from when I paid, let's just say. It was like timing. I don't remember all the details for the timing. And I remember like that Friday night, this is when Grey's Anatomy was still really good. Embodiment is the theme of the week. I know, totally. I remember Friday night, I was watching Grey's Anatomy, and it was commercials. This is when I watched it on TV. I don't think TiVo was really that popular yet, or there's no online streaming. And I was checking my email during commercials. I kid you not, I got an email from the immigration, from government, saying my green card arrived. And I was like, oh, are you kidding me? I like was so happy, I screamed. And then I called the school, and I was just like, oh, FYI, I actually have my green card. I got like an email notice, but I don't have the actual card yet. And the lady I was talking to was like, oh my God, that's great. We can switch over your student status from non-resident to resident so that you can only pay, you don't have to pay the $2,000. You just pay the $500. I was like, oh my God, okay. Like, that's what happens when we're in action closer towards our dreams. Like the universe starts aligning things for us. And I don't know, maybe if I didn't take action, maybe I would have gotten the green card, but me taking action towards that one step, I felt so free. I felt like the doors opened up, the path was open. Dang, that's wild. So wild, Christine. And like things just started moving again. And it wasn't even like, even if I didn't get the green card, whatever, I felt so like, oh my God, something is happening. Like I changed up the energy. So a lot of times when we feel stuck, it's not really stuck. It's just a story that we make up. And what's required is taking action. It's like, what's that one step towards that alignment? And sometimes it requires a commitment. So I was like, okay, I'm going to pay a little bit more money. And I'm gonna do it one step towards my dream. And like when we make a financial investment in something, it's like we're really committed. And same thing with my travel. Like I was like, okay, let's do it. The moment I purchased my plane ticket, it's like, oh, a few weeks later, Bali is actually open. And I'm just like, okay, but now I get to go to Mexico and then go to Bali and maybe even Thailand. And so it's like, it feels so good now. So even when Bali opened up his doors, well, I'm like, well, I'm going to hit Mexico first. You know, I have no like qualms about it. Like I'm so excited that I get to visit Mexico and also see my friend. We met online, so I've never met her in person. And so this is what happens when we're willing to really put money where our mouth is and be like, okay, I'm stuck, but is it really? No, right? It's just a matter of what you said, Christine, is getting into that embodiment, getting into that alignment, and taking that action. And so that is the stories. Those are the stories of things that have just really stand out in terms of getting unstuck. And really, it's just like, it's the mind creating something so that we are in an action, or inaction, right? So we can bust through from that. And then once we start moving towards our dreams, doors do open. Wow, that's so crazy. Yeah, crazy. So those are the two stories I was thinking about and wanting to come in here and share it because I do have clients that feel that they're stuck or, it's like, what do I do now? And so it's always about getting out of your head and getting back into the body. And it's like by moving, like physically moving or taking an action step that is more in alignment to where it's where you want to go. So Anyway, I'm so happy you're here, Christine. Yeah, I really wanted to share those two stories because it's so relevant to what's happening right now in my life. And amidst it all, you've got my wheels turning. Oh, I love that. I'm so excited for you and to see your adventures unfold. Oh, thank you. I'm so excited too. And it's just like, it's interesting because I was stressed about my mattress, my very expensive but well worth it mattress. I paid a lot of money for it. And like the littlest things can hold us back. The littlest things can hold us back because I was like, well, what am I going to do with this mattress? Like, I cannot store it on its side. It's such a fancy mattress that it needs to be laid flat, like a bed. And so I was like, well, I guess I have to sell it, but I don't want to sell it for like super low because it was expensive and it's only like 3 years old and I love my mattress. It has a 20-year warranty. So I was like reaching out to friends. I'm like, do you guys have an extra guest room? And one of my friends was like, I don't have an extra guest room, but I have room in my garage if you want to store it there. And I looked at his storage. I'm like, oh, this is big enough to hold all my things. I'm like, do you have room for more of my stuff? He's like, yeah, we can use my storage. So this is like one of those things when like we set our, like when our heart is in alignment, when we commit, doors really open up. So that is the vibe. So for those that I've been getting so many DMs and they're like, what's happening? I've been missing out. So I'm going to be living abroad. I'm not moving abroad. I'm living abroad for who knows how long. And then my car is also here. So my friends have been kind enough to look after my car on their driveway. I mean, my car is 18 years old, but it runs really well. It's a Civic. I love my Civic. And then I was like, I was just thinking about scenarios. Like, what if I end up staying abroad? First, I'd probably come back and sort a lot of things out. And then my dad's like, oh, I'll just fly over and drive the car back. I'm like, you're gonna fly. He lives in Ontario, so East Coast. He's in Toronto, and he doesn't mind driving across the country to take my car. And he's like, I'll have your car. Really funny, really sweet. My parents have done that cross-country drive before, so I think my dad really enjoys it. But I'm like, okay, but we'll see, right? So there's always a solution to what we think might be, or I can sell my car, right? But I'm not going to get that much money for it because it's going to be like 19 years old, right? But it still runs really well. But it's one of those things where when we just lean into it, solutions appear, but we need to be committed. So anyway, that's the vibe for tonight. Thank you all for tuning in. And I wanted to also share business stuff. I will still be doing my business when I'm traveling, obviously. Digital nomad. Thanks for the hearts, Christine. And so it's amazing. So I already have for my HD expanded, so human design sessions. I had a new client sign up yesterday and it's the HD expanded. So we have 4 sessions together and it's so fun because the last 2 weeks I'll be in Mexico for it. I'm like, oh my God, this is like happening. And so super stoked. And so I offer human design readings / sessions, facilitations to really help you integrate your human design into what's happening in your life right now so that you're in alignment and really going where you want to go. And then my membership group is amazing. So it's called The Unfolding, and it's a group mentoring membership group. So what it is that we have a group Voxer access that I'm pretty active there on the daily. And really it's a community where we hold space for each other. But I also pull in content of human design embodiment, the feminine essence. And it's like, I'm playing with all of this as well, and I'm sharing my perspective, and really it's less about information, especially around human design, because it can be so heady, and really making it so that we take it from head to the body, from head to the heart, so that we start to integrate and play and experiment with our design, because it's easy to get the information and then, okay, that's good to know, but that's not the purpose of human design. Human design is really meant to be a living experience. Hello, Yishka. Oh my goodness, beauty. How are you? I'm just talking about the Unfolding membership. And so the reason why I brought it up is because tomorrow is day 1 of Flow, which is a 3-day play shop where we're going to explore embodying human design through the lens of the feminine essence. And so it's going to be really fun. And it's going to start tomorrow for the next 3 days. And obviously it's going to be recorded. And the women in the group are amazing, and it's a monthly membership. And so I really wanted to create a space where it's less about coaching, more about holding space and having space for us to be witness and to have our evolution and our journey be witnessed as we continue to grow and unfold. And I feel like we need more space for that. Love that. Too much work in the world, bring on the play. Absolutely. So really it's about sharing our journey, and the Voxer group is fire. I just love it. And right now it's a small enough group that you can have the deep conversations without feeling lost in the mix of things. And so I think after a certain number of members coming in, I'm going to make the Voxer group an additional upgrade, because I don't want it to be over 20, 25 people. That's going to be a little bit too much to hold a Voxer group where, people are still getting the support, and, the whole, Voxer group can get a little bit overwhelming if we're not careful with it. And so I want to be mindful of the energy in their group. So anyway, if any of you who are watching or watching the replay want to learn more details about the Unfolding or my readings or my one-on-one work, please message me. My one-on-one work is called In the Field, and it starts with a 3-month minimum, and it's all about being in the field. So I'm not the type of mentor that just sits on the sidelines. I'm really the growth and courage catalyst. And in order for me to catalyze, I need to be in the field as well, right? So anyways, thank you for the love bubbles, whoever that was. Anyway, so that's what I wanted to share. And I'm just super excited for all the things to come. So DM me for anything. For any questions, and I hope you all have a beautiful evening, a beautiful morning, wherever you're at, and I'll see you all soon. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Sacred Emergence podcast. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss an episode, and thank you in advance for sharing this with others who can benefit. Until next time.